right, here we go. So, everybody, this is Excelsior Music Reviews. I'm Steve Ninja, and I'm here with George from George's Room of was it Room of
George
Rock?
G's Room of Rock.
George G's Room of Rock. So, I should have written that down. Yeah.
That's all right. How you doing?
Welcome, George. Yeah, it's a
Thank
George has like I said his own channel on YouTube. I watch all the time. I love his ranking videos, and so we kind of go back and forth when we watch each other's videos, kind of comment on them. And so I thought,
I,
well,
I, I always beat you to the punch.
yeah. He's like, man, I was going to do that. It's like Motley Crue. He just did that 10 days ago, and I was like,
That's all right. I copy everyone else's too. I just do what they're doing sometimes. I just try to wait a little bit, but we're all doing the same thing. What's the big deal?
yeah. I mean, YouTube tends to have like trends. Like people say, oh, let's do this, and then everybody else would do that, and it just kind of goes popularity.
Yeah,
You kind of see somebody else's ranking. You say, oh yeah, I want to do that too. So you put
yeah, exactly.
a lot of times I go like sometimes 2 or 3 weeks between doing videos. So it's like I kind of think a while. I'd like to do more posting, more often. Like this video is going to be like less than a week after I did my Motley Crue ranking. So it's kind of rare for me to get a new video out that way. But
There we
tonight,
go.
so tonight we're going to do we're going to talk about our favorite, like most memorable live, top five most memorable live experiences basically. And so we like I said, top five. George is going to do his five, and I'm going to do my five, and then he's going to do number five, and then I'll do my number five, and then we'll just go back and forth until we get to our number one, and then he'll do like a dishonorable mention kind of thing, just like a bad concert experience after he does his number one. And then if we have anything after that, we can give like some, maybe an honorable mention to something that didn't make our list. So, but
Sounds
there
good.
you go,
Sounds
George.
good.
Yeah, so George, I'm going to have you give your number five, and then we'll go
Okay.
back and forth. So
Let me get the glasses on because I'm an old man now.
I'm wearing my glasses too. So here we go.
All right. My number five is concert I saw in it was called the Birch Hill in here in Old Bridge there in New Jersey. It's not there anymore. It kind of closed down. But it was for the band Wasp was for this album here. Oh, can you see
Yeah,
it? There we go.
yeah.
For
Yeah, love
not the
one.
greatest album, but it's a good tour. And it was actually this was the second album with Chris Holmes after he came back to Wasp.
Right.
So I had to take it. It's really not the greatest
Yeah,
you
they
know.
wear out after a while. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the only one. If the other ones you can see, but this one you can't. But it was if I can remember where the heck, let me get my flashlight though, because it's really fade. It's March 8th or March 3rd, 2000. So it's a small club, and if you ever seen Wasp
uh,
live?
no, I have not. I have a lot
Okay,
of
have you ever seen video of them live?
right.
Well, they come out. Blackie comes out, and the Wasp logo is underneath the drum riser, and he comes out and lights it. Now we're in a small club, and do you remember that about that time that Great White Fire?
Yeah,
It was right then, and I'm sitting there. My friend is in front of me. He looks back, and he's like, "We're not getting out of here alive," because he thought the whole place because it's a low ceiling. It's like you're only a foot off the ground. This isn't like Madison Square Garden or anything.
right.
So we're looking back, and I'm like, "Oh my god, we're gonna get the place is packed. We're packed in there because it's not like I said, not a big club."
Mhm.
And well, nothing happened. It went out. But it was a really good show. Chris Holmes was great to see him. I've never seen him with the band,
Right.
and in that tour, he had like Blackie had like almost like a handlebar kind of microphone. He'd sit on it and he'd rock back and forth and
Right.
fling his head back and around. It was a really good show. And actually, for this album, they did Desolation Angels. They opened up with Hell Dorado, and they did the song "Dirty Balls,"
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
terrible freaking name for us. And during Dirty Balls and Animated Animal,
Mhm.
of course, at the end they show like a certain movie
Right.
on the screens, and it's even for then, it's I'm like that's kind of disturbing what they're showing because it's I don't want to say it's a bunch of what I'm talking about,
Right.
and
Right.
it's probably from the '80s. It was like this is really disgusting.
Right.
Watching this now, thinking about it, I'm like, but that was the whole shtick thing. They didn't do anything like any spitting blood. There was no throwing meat in the audience or anything like that. Those were the old days of doing that stuff. But
Yeah.
that's what I remember from that show was the fire. When I've seen him the tour. I think after that when they got I think the guy's name was I don't know, it was Daryl Roberts. He
Mhm.
replaced Chris Holmes.
Yeah,
And
I
some
don't.
guy in the audience just kept giving the guy the finger the whole time.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's not his fault. He's in the band. Chris laughed. Why are you giving this guy a hard time? I always hate seeing that
yeah,
stuff.
not his fault. Yeah,
But
I
that
have
one I remember.
Yeah, I have something similar to that. A different, not Wasp, but a different lineup of bands here, but it's very similar to that. And it's before the Great White disaster that
Yeah,
happened. But I think Black and Lawless is like he's like a born again Christian now. I think.
now he is. Yeah, he just started playing Animal again on this tour. He's just
Or,
doing it now. He didn't
yeah,
play it for years because he was born again. I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
I love
Yeah,
Wasp.
that's my number five. What's yours, number five?
Yeah, I love that band in the '80s, early '90s. Big time Wasp fan. I have tons of those on audio cassette, and I have their like the best of the Beast or whatever the best of
Yeah,
whatever that
yeah.
best of collection is. I have that, but yeah. So number five for me, this one, it actually was a really good concert until the last band came out and ruined it. Really, sort of. But they didn't ruin it. The first two bands made it so great that they didn't ruin it. But the concert was Faith No More, Metallica, and Guns N' Roses. And I was loved Faith No More and Metallica at the time, and still love those bands a lot. But this was on at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, which is not there anymore. It's those inflatable domes, like the Vikings used to play in, and the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Falcons.
Absolutely.
The building's completely gone now. They've actually expanded the convention center now where that spot was, and built a new what they call Lucas Oil Stadium, like right down the road.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
so this was July 22nd, 1992, and so I was fairly young. I was like 19 at the time, and I remember like I said, I liked the first two bands a lot, but then this is back in the days when Axl Rose was, he I guess he was drunk and he was always late to concerts,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
he did this thing where he like between every song he decided he was going to talk to the crowd for like 5 minutes instead of playing music, which we were there for. It was there.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
like almost 2 hours late. They were like an hour, 90 minutes late or something like that, waiting for
yeah,
them. And I was there really to see Metallica and Faith No More. I mean, I liked Guns N' Roses a lot at that time, the Use Your Illusion albums, all that stuff. But he just ruined it. But then there was a concert I saw in 2021, which was actually a makeup concert, Guns N' Roses, with Wolfgang Van Halen, and I think that
really.
Axl's definitely cleaned his act up. I mean, I think those like Duff and Slash said, they probably said we're not going to tour with you if you're not professional and you don't treat the fans right.
Yeah. Well, he grew up since then. That was like what,
So
30 years ago.
I think he has grown up. He doesn't drink as much as he used to, but he was solid that night. He sounded great. He didn't talk very long between songs, and he like redeemed himself, compared to what
Yeah,
that was. But like I said, Metallica was great at the show. Faith No More
yeah,
was great. Faith No More played with the lights were still on. It was still sun, daylight outside. But that one sort of a love hate concert, but it's memorable though. And
yeah. Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
okay, let's go to your number four.
Well, it's funny you should say that because my number four is the band that had this album out,
Yeah.
and the other band had these albums.
Yep. There you go.
I saw them in at what do you call it, Giant Stadium,
Yep.
and that was July 29th, 1992.
Yeah.
Here's the ticket.
Right.
And I didn't go in to see Faith No More because I was never a fan of Faith No More because I think
Right.
we're out in the park and my friends were getting drunk or whatever.
Right.
And went to see Metallica. Metallica was great. Never saw them before. It was great. We were kind of far up in the stadium, but they were good. And then Guns N' Roses, 3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours to had to wait. My friends are like, "Are we gonna stay here and wait?" I was like, "We paid for the ticket, man. So I guess we're staying with 3 hours." I mean, that was back when I had nothing to do anyway.
Right.
So they come out. He didn't do anything like you said where he's talking between the songs too much, but they played, and I remember they played that's the song "It's All Right" by
Yeah.
Black Sabbath in
Right.
before November Rain. I remember. I don't know why that sticks in my mind, but they were playing "Knock on Heaven's Door." Someone threw something at Axl's crotch.
Uh-oh.
He walked off stage
Oh, there we
and
go.
didn't come back.
Oh,
So they're playing the song and they're playing and waiting for them to come back, and they're looking around. And then Slash gets on the mic and said, "Well, I guess this whatever mother effer is not coming back.
right.
So we're gonna end the song right here." So they didn't do Paradise City and Don't Cry, something else.
Wow.
So I was like, well, at least they did most of the show. But I'm like, that's like you said, when he was like getting angry, just like, oh, I'm just gonna leave the stage. I don't care.
Wow.
So that was like, the same, it's pretty not funny, but that's what he did. And the funny part is that my wife was actually at the concert. I didn't even meet her yet. She was
Oh,
on the other
really?
side. I'm like, how about that? She's at the same exact show. I'm like, oh, you remember that? She said, yeah, we walked off the stage. I'm like, well, she didn't remember. Who knows? But she was at the same show.
So you
That's
probably
pretty
talked about
funny.
that when you had your first date, whatever. You say, "Oh yeah, I was at that show."
Well, it was like years later before I told her. I think she's like, oh, I was at that show. I'm like, oh, there you go.
What
Yeah.
was it like? Was it like midnight before you got there, or
Oh my God. I mean, because well, what's the ticket say? Let me see. The ticket said the show started at 7. So
seven?
Faith No More probably went on like probably quarter to 8,
Right.
and then Metallica comes on like whatever it was around, I think around 9,
Yeah.
9:15, and then Guns N' Roses came on. Yeah, midnight. You know,
Wow.
like we drove there. I didn't have to catch a train to get home, but I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Three, I mean, an hour with 3 hours. What do you? I mean, what do you do? We had a couple hot dogs and they drank some beer and that. So,
Yeah, that's
but like I
terrible.
said, I was like, it was still a good concert, but it's like I never seen them since then. No,
Yeah.
but that was like kind of in their prime. I wish I would have seen them like when they like they were in the clubs doing like Appetite. That probably
Right.
the best to see them. But
Yeah, that was
yeah,
a
that's what I before though. So
yeah,
yeah,
that was a great period there. Yeah, and with the Appetite for Destruction
yep,
era.
yep.
Yeah, and I love the User Illusion albums, even though I thought they're too long, and it would
They
have been
could
nice
have
to have one album.
they could have compressed them onto one. They did a little bit
Few songs,
overindulgent,
yeah,
overindulgent.
yeah, a few songs are way too long that you couldn't even the best songs you couldn't even fit on one disc, on a CD. But
Exactly. Yeah.
uh,
I actually like disc two better than disc one for that one.
right, right.
Yeah.
I like this too. Yeah, yeah. So at my number 4, this one, this is great. I was only 14, but this is I saw Motorhead, Overkill, and Slayer at a
Wow.
this is at like an old what they call it the Arlington Theater, which was like an old movie theater that was probably built in the 50s. And
Oh my
I,
God.
I'd never seen. I've only the only time I've ever seen these 3 bands together, and obviously Overkill got their name from Motorhead from the album
Yeah.
Motorkill.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but Motorhead was great. They were both all bands were really loud. Slayer was the loudest of the 3, but I remember Overkill like after their set. I remember Bobby Blitz. I don't know if this is something he did all the time. But he said like good night, and it just repeated for like 5 minutes while they were tearing down their set. All the equipment, and everything while the
Uh-huh.
was tearing it down. He just said good night, good night, good night. Just repeated over and over for like 5 minutes. I remember that, but the
Really?
biggest part, yeah, the biggest part was Slayer though. This is where I said this when you talked about the Great White incident and that show you went to with the Wasp.
Yeah.
This was where Slayer had like I don't know if it was a whole. I think it was just them. They had like fire torches set up like on both ends of the stage,
Okay.
and it was really close to the ceiling, and you could see it was
Oh
leaving
boy.
circles on the ceiling. And I was only 14. Actually, at this time in '88, I was 15. Just
Okay.
15 in August. But when Slayer got out there, I could hear him well enough, and I spent most of the time with Slayer playing out in the lobby area where you could still hear him, but it was kind
Yeah.
of around the corner, you couldn't really see him. But I was like, if this old theater set on fire, I'm going to be the first one out the door. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, there you go.
I'm only 15. It's not really worth
Yeah.
losing my life
Yeah,
to
I know.
Slayer. But like I said, this is before the Great White incident. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that thing happened, maybe 5 or 6 years later. It was in mid '90s or so. So at that point, it's like that. People really died in
Yeah,
that
I know.
fire.
It's
But this is
just
like
tragic.
but this was like just a one screen movie theater that just had seats. The seats are still in there. It wasn't very big at all, and a lot of
Yeah.
guys played there in the late '80s. That time. But I thought Slayer was great. I saw enough of the show. Saw them play enough that. But when I saw it was getting really hot from the stage, and I thought this. I'm sure they got the asbestos out of here, but just those circles I was seeing on the ceiling like got me nervous, man. Like it's like not this brave, So I get
Yeah,
stand
yeah.
in the lobby and just wait and just listen to it. But
Yeah.
that's the only time I saw Slayer. But
That's
okay,
funny.
yeah. So what's your number 3?
Oh, you must we didn't compare notes for this, but my number three was I saw this tour. Can you see it?
Oh, Death. Yeah,
It was also with Anthrax. Anthrax just did like a little opening thing. They didn't play too long. They did their hits, but Slayer came out and they played this album in its
yeah,
entirety.
right.
So they did that. They did 2 songs from World Painted Blood,
Yeah,
and they did of course, Angel of Death and Raining Blood.
Right.
So I thought that's cool. I never seen Slayer, and I actually saw, like you did, I saw the original Slayer because it's before
Yeah.
Jeff Hanneman passed away. So
Yep.
that was a big deal. And the show was great. You know, I had good seats for that. Um, and then Megadeth comes out, and they played all this,
Yes.
all Rest
Classic.
in Peace. So I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. And they, of course, they did the same thing. They played a couple newer songs for an album that was out at the time. I can't remember which one it was. And they did, of course, Peace Cells, and I think Wake Up Dead. But that was another amazing show. They, you know, they're just. I never saw Megadeth either. I seen them another time later. I saw them open for the Scorpions years later, like a couple of years ago before the pandemic started, which is a weird combo, the Scorpions and Megadeth. I don't know how that worked out. But this concert was good. Like I said, the only it's not like a bad thing, but all I remember from after the concert is when I came home the next day, my wife told me a friend of mine passed away. So
Oh,
that's what I kind of associated with her. But he liked those bands, so I try to not make it a sad thing. But it was a good concert. But unfortunately, that's what I think of when I think of that concert. But not in a really trying to think in a negative way. But it was a good concert anyway. You know, but nothing's that's the way things happen sometimes.
yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, so that was it. That's my number three was just playing those two albums in entirety. I was like, I didn't know they were doing that because I didn't know, you know.
That's
But it
that's
was
a
a good show
classic.
though.
Yeah, from
Yeah,
Megadeth,
absolutely,
Marty
absolutely.
Friedman, Nick Menza. Yeah, Nick Menza's passed away now. Marty Friedman he lives in Japan. He's
Yeah, he's all into that. Yeah, and
yeah,
this one I think this when I saw Megadeth, they were still with Dave Lomenzo
right.
because
Oh,
Dave didn't rejoin the band yet at that point.
okay.
So it's James Lomenzo, which I actually met all them for when they had the I forgot what tour it was. I forgot. I have it on the wall over there. But I met all of them and actually talked to James Lomenzo when I met him for a signing. And I
Okay.
said, "You the same guy from White Line?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "That's kind of a stretch going from White Line going to Megadeth. That's totally different kind of music." But he handled it good though. But
Uh,
anyway, that's it. That's my number three there. What do you got?
yeah, I think he's a good bass player. I don't think he's as creative as David Ellison is.
No, no.
He's capable of playing the song. I just don't think he's capable of creating the music
Yeah.
that David Ellison does. But yeah, I didn't know what year that was. What year was that show? I didn't see it on the
Oh,
ticket.
that was two. Well, then we got it right here.
Okay.
That was 2010,
Okay. Okay. So that's after
October 8th, 2010. Yep.
after Marty Freeman and Nick Menza. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. After that, absolutely.
The Rust in Peace is an amazing album. But so my number three, this is one a band that was people were kind of down on them at this point. But it was Metallica. This is in February 16th, 1997. It was
Okay.
on the part of Reload on the they call it Poor Touring Me, I think it was the name of the show.
Oh, okay.
But even Metallica in their kind of the years where people didn't like them as much, they became more of a hard rock band. Even then, their live shows were still great. It still did those classic songs,
Yeah.
kind
Oh, yeah.
of some of the Load and Reload songs. But this is the one where they started doing like they'd have like a fire break out on stage and all this chaos would happen. But
Mm-hmm.
besides the show and then the performance is great. But at the time, I was foolish enough to wear earplugs at the time, and they were really good earplugs, so good that I couldn't hear the band really. I could see them walk around. So I took out one of my left earplug. And a lot of people wear earplugs now. I think it's more
Yeah, I
common.
do all the time.
Back then, it wasn't that common. But I
Yeah.
took that left one out. Right then, the big bomb went off, explosion, and ever since then, this is like I said, this is a February 16th, 1997. It's actually the last time I've ever seen Metallica live.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen them live 9 times. So I saw them a lot
Wow.
during that time. But it's been since 1997 since I saw them last. But ever since then, I remember after that show, I've had ringing in my left ear, tinnitus or tinnitus, as some people would say.
Oh,
But
wow.
the ringing's kind of off. It's kind of different scales of ringing, but it's
Oh,
because
geez.
I think it's basically because of that show that I lost some
That'll
hearing.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I also had something happen when I was younger where a firecracker went off in my hand and kind of. But I think that show was really. I remember after that show, my hearing was not the same.
Yeah.
Hearing this ringing, and I think it's because of that. So I can thank Metallica for that, and that's probably why I've not seen them since then. But they don't come here a lot, and I live in
Yeah.
Indianapolis, but they have come here in recent years, but their tickets are so expensive now. But
Yeah.
still love that band though. Overall, but
Oh
that's
yeah, oh yeah.
let's say it. So what's your number two?
My number two is one I saw over here in Starland Ballroom, which is over here in Sayreville,
Hmm.
and it was another one. It was Anthrax.
Oh yeah.
It was from Friday, June 3rd, 2005. This was the tour when they first reunited again with Joey Belladonna. Remember,
Hmm.
he came in and he left again and came back, and it was a really good show because it was in a club. And the best part was is they actually had the DVD of it because they actually recorded it live for the DVD. So I'm
Right.
actually at the show that they did it at. So if you can see the track listing,
Wow. Yeah.
can you see it?
Songs. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Yeah. Some.
So that was pretty cool. All they did they didn't put on the DVD was got the time and antisocial. I guess that's because of probably because it's their cover song, so they probably didn't want to couldn't pay out for that. But that's cool. Like I have a an actual DVD of the concert I was actually at. So like, if they zoom the crowd, I'm in there somewhere. I don't know where I am in the show, but because I stood back, I don't go in the mosh pit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just staying back. I'm not doing that. I'm too old for that.
Yeah.
Even then, in 2005, like, no, I'm not doing that. My kid's 5 years old. He's the daddy come with his face stomped in. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I did that when I was younger. I used to get in the mosh pit and all that stuff, but yeah, it didn't last that long, but yeah,
they that where I saw them, they mosh pit to anything. I mean, Twisted
yeah.
Sister played there, and they're moshing, and D. Snyder's like, "You're moshing the Twisted Sister." It's like, I would
Oh my
never
God.
see that years ago. I see headbangers, none of them. You're moshing. It's just funny.
I,
So,
I've actually seen Anthrax once, but it was with John Bush, probably in the late '90s, I think, or early 2000s,
yeah.
and that was when Misfits, not with
Oh
not
yeah.
with Danzig, but the other singer, Michael, the other guy that he was a singer, and I remember in that show, John Bush lost a shoe, and one of the punks in the crowd wouldn't give his shoe back, and then they stopped. The concert stopped for like a couple minutes. Well,
Yeah.
give his shoe back to him. Like we
The
can't
next,
listen to Anthrax, But yeah,
yeah.
I liked Anthrax a lot live quite a bit. Though I thought they were
Yeah,
great.
yeah. I never seen it with John Bush, but I saw it with them. Hold on one second. I forgot one thing. Oh, okay. I got it. I knew I forgot something for the next one. Go ahead.
All right, so my number two, you I'm sure you've got this band and one of your last two, the last one probably, but this band I've loved all my life, but it was I saw Kiss August 9th, 1996.
Tell you, we didn't clear notes for this stuff. Go ahead.
They had a band called D-Generation open up for them at that time. They had
All
different
right.
bands.
Yeah. Yeah.
That band was okay, but who's ever heard of D-Generation since then?
Yeah, I know.
But this is just to see the classic band line up together. The original members in makeup. I thought they were great then. I saw them like 2 years later in Psycho Circus, and they were terrible, mainly because of Peter Criss. I think he just decided he was going to boycott the band at that time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But in '96, they sounded great, and just everything I could ever imagine. They were actually floor seats. This was at the old Market Square Arena. It's actually where I saw Metallica. Also,
Yeah.
but the Market Square Arena was like this old basketball arena where the Indiana Pacers used to play at, and people
Okay.
people love the sound in that building and had a great sound quality.
Yeah.
So that was great to see Kiss. But
How close were you? How close were you on the floor?
we were probably. I went with like three other friends, but probably about 20 rows back from the stage.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah.
we overpaid for it, but we all love Kiss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We overpaid for it. Yeah, I remember that.
it was a life
That's awesome.
dream. Yeah, just to see them in makeup. But
Yeah.
okay, what's your number one there?
My number one is the band that toured for this album.
Yes. Okay.
Because I saw them for I did see them on the reunion tour twice. I saw them in at the Garden. It was their first show at the Garden with the reunited band. That was pretty special. But this one was 2 nights at Brendan Byrne or whatever it was called at the time, Brendan Byrne Arena. I got the Continental Arena. I got the ticket right here. So
Yeah. Wow.
and I saw them 2 nights in a row. My
Right.
friend got tickets for them both. I took my wife to one night, and the other night a friend of mine, the same friend went again. And third row,
Wow.
third row, they're right in front of you. Like, oh my God, they're right there. I was on the side with
Yeah,
more with Ace Frehley and Paul were there, the Gene side,
right.
and I was just like it all because they're my favorite band since 1983. So I
Right.
was just like, like I said, I seen him like 9 times.
Wow.
I seen him without makeup. I seen him with an acoustic show. They did at the Roseland years ago. But this one I caught a pick from Ace Frehley.
Oh,
Let
wow.
me get over here.
That's cool.
So I'm cool about it because Ace is probably my favorite member of the band. So I
Yeah.
got that. I almost caught a drumstick too.
Oh,
We
wow.
forgot the roses too. During Beth, Peter Chris got the roses. My friend pick up the rose, but he gave it to some girl next to him, I think, or something. So he didn't
Yeah.
keep the rose. But
Dude.
just like the fact that they were right there, and it just like I'm in awe because I was like, oh my god, and I've never seen them since then.
Yeah.
I haven't even. I was gonna try to go to see this reunion show. It's just too
Yeah.
much money, but I'm
Right.
like, I'm not gonna top that moment with the
Right.
original band. They're right there for my third round. Am I ever gonna beat that? Definitely gonna beat that. So I don't really mind having seen them. So, but yeah, that's my number one. That's a huge moment because I was just like, I couldn't believe they're right there in front of you, and
Yeah.
it was just insane. Great show though, because that they were good for that show. I guess they were good for you when you saw them, but they were good for that show. So
Yeah. I mean, did they have 3D glasses where you could see the graphics and
yeah, that didn't work.
oh,
That
really?
didn't work. In fact, by the third row, you couldn't tell. But I was on the second time when I saw the night before, we were far away, and the 3D thing it didn't work. I don't know, that whole thing was like ridiculous. It just didn't work. I don't know what they were thinking. But let's do it 3D. I'm like, yeah, okay, it doesn't work. you
Yeah.
know?
Paul Stanley's platform where we were the row we were in. This is on the floor also, but the platform when they came out and did Love Gun, the platform was
Yeah.
like right to the right of me. Like I mean, within 10 feet maybe or 10 to 15 feet away, where you just see Paul, go there and land on that and do Love Gun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a great story. But so my number one, this is the one people that know me, I talk about this show all the time. The
So
number
I'm ready to
one,
hear it.
yeah. So this one I was actually 14 at this is July 6th, 1988. So I turned 15 in August the next month. But
Uh huh.
I got these tickets for free off the radio, and somehow I'm lucky enough I win tickets off the radio all the time, just because I'm persistent. But
My
this
wife does that too all the time.
yeah. But this is the Monsters of Rock tour with Van Halen's tour.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I was really into all five of these bands big time. Kingdom Come was the opener, Metallica, Dokken, Scorpions, Van Halen, and I loved
Wow.
all five bands. And like I said, free concert. It was just like a 9 hour show or something like that. Not we were off the floor, but it was kind of a little bit off the floor. It wasn't that far away, kind of off to
Uh
the
huh.
left of the stage. But loved it. Metallica were still like a really big deal, kind of an underground kind of thing. It was kind of my band. In a way, I was kind of a gatekeeper to Metallica at that time, where a lot of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
This is before Justice for All was released, so a lot of and they actually did they did a 1 minute part of a Harvester of Sorrow. The album hadn't been released yet, and then they were kind of going back and forth to the studio and playing live. And he said, "You
Yeah.
guys here's something new," and then they played that just the 1 minute part of the beginning of Harvester of Sorrow, and people loved it. But
Wow.
yeah, this is.
Amazing.
I thought all the bands were great. I loved Dokken back then, just to see them live, and they broke up like a year later. You know,
Oh yeah, yeah.
see George Lynch out there, that was great. But yeah, like I said, 14 years old. Like, how can I ever top that concert? Even Kiss didn't top that concert for
No,
me.
I get it.
A stadium concert like that. So it was great. And that was Van Halen's like OU 812 tour.
Yeah.
The whole thing. But so we're gonna give our dishonorable mentions. Just one like really terrible show, and I'll let George take over that, and you can also give your honorable mention too. But yeah,
Okay. Well,
but
the only dishonorable mention I have is like my wife and I went to see um Jeff Keith and Tommy Scooch from they had a band. I think it was called Sofa King.
okay,
So we went to see them. It was just because after Tesla broke up, they formed this band, and Tommy had cut all his hair off,
no,
and they played all these songs. I had no idea what they're playing. It was like not grungy, but I'm like, my wife's like, I don't know any of this song. This sucks. I'm like, yeah. The only thing they played was Signs, and it's
okay,
like their own song. And I'm
yeah,
like, well, this is pretty disappointing. So that's the only one I could think of that was like that sucked, But what are you gonna do? It's like that they were trying something new, and at that whole era where the '90s was a bad time for like hard rock and metal because all the grunge was in. Not that anything, I don't think get some of the grunge stuff. I like Soundgarden, and I like Alice in Chains, and I like the first Nirvana. Not the I guess it's the second Nirvana album. Never mind, that kind of stuff. I don't listen to it as much anymore, but I had no problem with it. But all those bands tried to follow that kind of thing, even all the hair bands. Someone tried to do all those kind of grungy. They just didn't work for them.
Right.
You know, that's the only one I can think of. As far as honorable mentions go, I could say like when you were talking about the earplug thing,
Yeah.
in '89 was the year I graduated high school. We went to see Bon Jovi
Hmm.
in Giant Stadium, and it was Bon Jovi, Billy Squire, and
Yeah.
Skid Row,
Oh wow.
and that was actually the show. Sam Kinison, you know, the comedian, he came out. They did Wild Thing,
Oh wow.
but I went to see that show, and I'm like, I don't need earplugs. It's Bon Jovi. How loud can they be? Well, forget it. My ears were ringing for 3 days after that.
Oh
Ever
wow.
since then, I went earplugs in. It was because of Bon Jovi. Your Bon Jovi blew your ears out. Bon Jovi, of all bands, but they were good. That was for their New Jersey tour for that album, so it was really good. It came out on the big scaffolding, came all around. It was good. It was a good show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody has to apologize. Those first four Bon Jovi albums, I don't care if you don't like Bon Jovi. I think those albums are great. I love
Oh,
the
absolutely.
80s Bon Jovi. I love that. After that, I didn't like Bon Jovi anymore. You know, and once the '90s
Yeah,
came, I was kind of done with them. But I thought they were great, especially New Jersey and Slippery When Wet are classic.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my dishonorable mentions actually involves Van Halen again.
Oh no.
This is in October 14th, 2007, with Dave Lee Roth came back and Wolfgang was the bass player. But
Yeah.
Van Halen, you know, back in the old days, they used to have huge amplifiers. You could hear them really well. But this is at the old Casico Field House, which is, you know, sports arena, not made for music.
Uh-huh.
I think they've kind of retrofitted the thing to kind of make it have better sound, and they put a big jumbotron in. You can hear better. But me and one of my friends paid like $50 to sit up way up the nosebleed section, and I tell you what, we couldn't hear anything from the band. You really had to focus really hard to know what song they were playing, and you know,
Really?
yeah. And Dave Lee Roth, when he talked, his voice echoed off. We were kind of to the right of the stage. His voice echoed off the back, you know, back of the building, and then came back, and we just hear this echo.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, this is one of the few times when I've left a show and couldn't, my ears weren't ringing. Like did I just go to a show, just see a concert? You know, like, I've never had that before. I've never had any kind of, you know,
It
usually
wasn't loud. It wasn't loud.
wasn't loud at all. I mean, it was really quiet. And I've heard that people that sit on the floor, you can hear them much better. You know, if you're on the floor or right off the floor, you can hear the music. I think they've fixed the acoustic problem since then. But yeah, I think that was just a terrible show. And then I saw them again in 2015, and you could hear them a little bit better, but it was partially the band's fault. Their equipment just wasn't loud enough.
Oh wow.
I'm going to give my honorable mention here. So this one is kind of a special show. This is August 30th, 1994. I saw the Rolling Stones with
Wow.
Lenny Kravitz open up for them, and it was in Cincinnati at the old Riverfront Stadium where the Cincinnati Reds used to play. That venue's gone now, but this is a great show. It's Lenny Kravitz. I was a big fan of Lenny Kravitz in like the '90s. After that,
Yeah, so got first four albums by 5 albums by him, I think.
yeah, I thought he was great back then, and then he became kind of a pop star after that. But you know,
Don't they all?
he was a great rocker back then, man. He was a great opening act.
Yeah.
This is the only time I've ever seen him or the Rolling Stones, and to me, it was like a bucket list kind of thing. You know, I don't need to see them now. I mean, they're like, well, they're like close to 80 or like early 80s.
I know.
But I think it's a band. Have you ever seen them before? I mean,
No, I'm not a big Stones fan. I like some of the songs, but I'm more a Beatles guy. But I'm not going to see them. No.
yeah, love the Beatles too. I like the Beatles more than the Stones, but yeah, Rolling Stones. It was a free ticket. It was a case where my cousin bought the tickets. She and her ex-husband now bought the ticket for her dad for his, like, I think it's like his 50th birthday or something, and he couldn't go. So
Yeah.
they invited me to go, and I was wearing my Metallica t-shirt at the time, and I think it's one I got from that show, the Guns N' Roses show. And so a lot of people were asking me about my t-shirt because Metallica was still, they were becoming really big back at that time. But
Yeah.
like I can like anything, man. It's anything rock based. It doesn't have to be heavy necessarily.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I prefer heavy rock, heavy metal. But just to see that show, it was once in a lifetime, you know, chance to see them in 1994. So, and it was Cincinnati. I think it's the only time I've ever seen a major show outside of Indiana. Basically, it was the only time. Yeah, Yeah, that was the first big one, but yeah, it did, like that old stadium. It was great. It was kind of like we're like Pittsburgh. They used to have those kind of the round bowl
Yeah.
kind
Oh yeah.
of the kind of cookie cutter they used to call them back then. They're all like, five or six. I think the Phillies had one like that too. It was
Uh-huh.
round. I think the stage may have been like in the middle of the field, the baseball field, and
Yeah.
you kind of see them. We were kind of up high, and it was weird the way you could kind of see down. They were way at the bottom, but you could
Yeah.
hear them great. And Lenny Kravitz was on fire at the time. Like I said, he was at his peak at that point where it's just heavy. And I love that band. It's the way they sounded. And the Rolling Stones, like to me, it's kind of a blur. It's not a good thing or bad thing. It was just solid. Both bands
Yeah.
just did their thing. No problems at all. So I wouldn't necessarily call it extremely memorable, except seeing the two bands. I don't
Yeah.
remember a ton about it. I think I remember more about Lenny Kravitz than I do the Stones. But
Yeah.
to me, I was just kind of honored to see the Rolling Stones just one time in my life.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to see him again. It's like once you see him
No.
once, you don't really need to see him again necessarily, unless you're a huge fan. If you're one from the '70s,
Yeah.
their peak
The
period.
fact that Keith Richards still kicking around.
Yeah, Matt, and he's still
They'll,
alive.
they'll wheel him out of his coffin. Or he's gonna play now.
Yeah, I think he's undead. I don't think he's actually alive. He just can't.
Yeah, I know. It's so
He's gonna
funny.
survive everybody. But yeah, that was great though. But so that's our top five and honorable mentions. Just honorable mentions. It was great just sharing what you had there, Georgia. A lot. I mean, we had a lot of.
Me too. I love the stories. Love the stories. It's great. We could do
Yeah,
this again.
yeah. We can do it again.
Absolutely.
These are some of the peak shows. I'm not sure I can think of some others, other live
Yeah.
shows. Seeing Iron Maiden for only one time in my life, and just seeing
Yeah.
some like that, just that kind of thing. But yeah, this is great. Like I said, love watching your channel. Love like your topics, man. You crank out the videos, man, and I take longer.
Yeah. It's like a video. Well, it's easy for me. I just go for work and I'll do it. I'll do, because I don't have little kids at home anymore. My kids are both adults, so they do their own thing. So, my wife, like, she likes that I do it. She always like criticizes. You're touching your face too much. You're touching your hair too much. I'm like, I'm not trying to do it. So I'm doing it now. you know,
I
she
do.
criticizes. When she watches them, I feel weird. I don't watch it with her, when she's watching. I feel weird, but
Yeah,
she'll watch it. She'll tell me.
I like holding a CD up because otherwise my hands will just do this. I just
You talk with your hands. Yeah,
yeah.
that's all right.
Well, that's that CD up. I do have the movie channel too. I have a movie channel called Excelsior Movie Reviews, and I just
Yeah.
way too much. I'm too expressive. I think it kind of makes people nervous when they watch that. So
Yeah.
I gotta watch what I do with my hands and keep it down. But yeah, I love watching music channels on YouTube. Like,
Yeah, I watched Amazing. Like, so many I forget to watch them. I gotta go back to them. I miss them.
yeah,
You always look for. I always look for him. Like, who hasn't done anything in a couple weeks? What's he doing? I haven't seen him yet.
What's he doing?
But then I'm like, oh, he's got to be on the movie channel too. He's probably doing stuff on that. I just scrapped it out one too. Then see what you talk about the movies.
Yeah, I wish
Because
I could.
I always, when I first saw it, I said, oh, you got the Jaws picture, the Star Wars picture. I'm like, that's awesome, because absolutely love Star Wars.
Yeah.
That was my favorite thing as a kid. After superheroes, it was Star Wars. Then once I got into Kiss, it's kind of wow, that was it.
Get some Star
But
Wars.
yeah, love
Yeah,
the Star Wars. I got a box set of the Star Wars, the movies and stuff, all their, the soundtracks.
oh yeah. I've
John
got
Williams, all stuff is great.
I've got Star Wars, the unaltered versions that come the bootlegs that they have, and I've got the original box set too. But everybody has bootlegs,
Oh yeah, I got plenty of those.
when studios won't actually give you what you want, you have to take the law in your own hands, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
nothing else, But yeah, definitely, I've got like one of the movie channels. I think they're going to show my toy collection. I have a bunch of Star Wars toys and
I
Kiss
can see.
and Kiss toys. I've got a bunch of like 5 different lines of Kiss action figures from the '90s. And
Wow.
I think I might. I
That's
don't.
like I said, I got them up there. My thing up here, there's action figures. I have some dolls and stuff.
Yeah,
I kept all my Star Wars figures. I have all the 2 cases, the 3 cases of Star Wars figures, and I kept a couple other toys. But
yeah.
some of them actually sold. I don't know which I didn't sell them, but you do stupid stuff. Hey, money,
My mom gave away a lot of my Star Wars toys back in the '80s, early '80s. When I think my dad thought it had grown out of that, and I still have some of them. Some of them were kind of hidden. I've got in a Darth Vader case, and
Yeah,
I've got
the Darth Vader case too. in my closet over here.
A lot of stuff, a lot of stuff I have is from the '90s. The special edition
Yeah.
ones that Kenner released before Kenner sold the company to Hasbro.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but there's a video. I don't know if it's going to air sometime soon, but it might be tomorrow possibly. But I showed some of my toys and some of my vinyl and stuff like that. I'm mostly a CD collector, but I have some vinyl and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. What's me? I have like see the vinyl behind me. I still just old vinyl. I don't buy vinyl anymore. It's like the thing is with vinyl, think vinyl's really cool to look at, and I love watching the guys open it. But it's like I don't have the patience to be cleaning a record,
Right.
and I don't mind going over flipping a record over. I did that for years, but I'm like I don't have the time. You got to clean it, and then if you get it in the mail, that you get warped. I'm like I don't have the patience for that. I'll just stick with the CDs. I mean, I don't know how long they're going to be around, but I think the CD sales actually have gone up this last year. So
A little bit, yeah. I mean, vinyl's so expensive. I mean, you're going to pay 35 bucks for vinyl.
yeah,
Today, they actually bought the new Extreme album, and that was 16.99 just for that in a digipack for
yeah,
12 songs, and it's not bad. I've only listened like 1.5 times, one full time, and then like half of the CD. But it's called
yeah,
Six album. I really like the song Rise from them, so
yeah.
I'm probably going to do a ranking video of
Extreme.
Extreme. And
I only have the first album, but the new one I heard a lot of songs. I'm like, wow, this is good. Nuno sounds great on it. I'm like, I'm gonna have to pick this up. But I listened to like snippets of the first 5 songs. Like, wow, I need to get this. you know?
Yeah, so it's not all heavy riffs, but the
Yeah.
song,
Well, there's different light and shade to the music too. Yeah.
it's been 15 years since Extreme released their last album, so I can't
Wow.
believe it's been that long. But they don't release it very often, so yeah.
We don't get any younger.
You're right. But yeah, but thanks George. Have a good night. I'm gonna get this all put together and edit it, and I'll get it out sometime this week. So
Well, I appreciate you having me out. I really appreciate it. Really. The first time doing it, so it's kind of nice. I always watch other people do it. I'm like, oh, my son's like, you're going to be on one of those shows. Like, no one's put me on their show. But
well,
you are, put me on the show, and I feel honored. So thank you so much.
yeah, I mean maybe you can host one sometime too. We'll get it on your channel, and
Yeah, we'll figure out what we can do.
yeah, I'll leave you a link and everything. You can watch it there, and I'll give you credit on it there. George, put your channel name and everything. So
I appreciate it.
yeah, but thanks, bud. This Saturday night, and you have a good rest of the night, and
You
well,
too. You too.
we'll be
Have a
watching.
rest of the weekend, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I'll be commenting on the next video I watch there, and just go back and forth. But yeah, we'll talk again for sure. And
Absolutely. You got everything. You got my text. You got my phone number. We'll text, call, whatever you want to do. All right, man.
all right, man, George. Appreciate it.
Thanks again for having me.
Thanks. Have a good night, man.
You too. Bye.
Thanks, man.